All right, good morning and welcome to Adult Forum. Good to have some other local ministry partners with us in person here today, so thank you. Did want to highlight for those that are regular attendees that today is the Reality Ministries talent show at DPAC. They were here presenting a month or two ago, and so if you haven't time to attend this free event at DPAC today, I think their large fundraiser art show. I have an extra flyer that I could give you if anybody wanted to.
2 o'clock?
That's today, yes. Yep, I think doors and art gallery open at 2 and the show is at 3 p.m. So it is free as well. So you don't need tickets in advance. If you don't have them, you can still show up. Both of today's presenters work for Durham Congregations in Action, DCIA, which is partially supported by funding from the annual budget of the congregation at Duke University Chapel. But it's very likely that there are attendees here that are new to the congregation or members who are not greatly familiar with this work. So we're glad for that connection, but please don't make any assumptions regarding common understanding of your work. The Reverend Breana van Velzen, none they, is an ordained Baptist minister. Breana holds a Master of Divinity from Duke Divinity School, a Master of Social Work from the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Breana is a certified spiritual director and a nonprofit consultant experienced in nonprofit leadership, diversity, equity, and inclusion change making, and theoethical practice for parachurch ministry and faith-based institutions. In addition to the role of a executive director for Durham Congregations in Action, Breana serves on the board of Innovative Space for Asian American Christianity, Christian Community Development Association, Baptist Women in Ministry, and the Religious Coalition for a Nonviolent Durham. Outstanding background, and you must be very busy, and we are glad to have you here. Mitchell Ford's a native of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Despite originating in Chapel Hill, he has deep roots throughout the RDU area with spurts in Michigan, New York, Los Angeles, and Atlanta. While studying at UNC Chapel Hill, he majored in communications, focusing on performance for social change. After years of working in entertainment, he received a Master's of Divinity from Emory's Candler School of Theology, where our new pastor also received his degree, I believe. His academic and professional journey reflects a deep commitment to community building and carrying out the Great Commission in a context that reaches beyond the walls of a church or typical worship settings. Throughout his professional career, he has focused on community building through service, acting as a bridge between various populations, uniting resources and support for traditionally marginalized populations. Mitchell is inspired by acts of service and movements that radically shift the trajectory of human consciousness. He currently serves as the HomeShare Durham coordinator for DCIA, and we're thrilled to have both of you here. We'll hand it over to you. I'll have the mic, and it's all yours, Mayor. If there's any technical questions, also I'll just be right here and can help with anything you might have. So, thanks for joining. Yeah, Bree.
Thank you.
Okay.
Morning, everyone. How are you? It's good to be back here with you and see all of you. I haven't seen some of y'all in a while. And I've seen Fran a little more than I see Jack, but yeah, so Durham Congregations in Action has been around for 54 years. Next year will be 55, and so I'm hoping we can plan some kind of really amazing celebration that's super cheesy around the number 55, since I missed the 50th anniversary because COVID. We started, the story we're telling about ourselves is like, we started by bringing churches together to tackle community problems and to build relationships with one another. And even though the ways that looks has changed over the last 54 years, and I hope it would, given that times have changed greatly, we still work on bringing congregations together to meet community needs and build relationships. And some of the fruit of our labor, besides all the nonprofits like Urban Ministries and Reality Ministries and a few of other programs, Durham in the city that we helped start or we did start. I think some of the fruits of our labor that people don't get to see very often, but is really at the root of all of our work, is the relationships. We were founded as an interracial, interfaith nonprofit in 1972, when that was a very, very unpopular decision. And to this day, we have 7 religions and 59 congregations plus 2 pending. So I'm hoping at my report in January, I can announce to everyone, we have 61 congregations. But we have been working very hard at getting communities that have issues with each other to talk to each other, to build trust. We have a community now. Part of the reason Durham is the way it is because organizations like DCIA exist. We were the first of our kind, but we're certainly not the last. Where our churches know they can call on churches in their neighborhoods, no matter what faith they are or what the background is now. Like Walltown, where I live, is one such example. Walltown and Trinity Park work together. So you have Trinity Park or Trinity Avenue Presbyterian, DCIA member, Watt Street Baptist, DCIA member, Bethel Synagogue, DCIA member, St. John Missionary Baptist Church, not a DCIA member because they don't necessarily do interfaith work as much, but they do call us. We work well with them, and they're one of the food pantries we support through our efforts with the Walltown Neighborhood Ministries. Same with some of the other smaller churches in the area. But the point is, they've done the work to actually call on each other. So even though something might be housed at St. John's, there's a bunch of congregation members from the surrounding congregations, no matter what faith they are, present on the board of that ministry. And so people might think it's just that one church, but actually it's all of these churches working together. Grace Lutheran is a pending member of ours. They also work together in that community. So that took decades. And when there's been a problem around race, around world issues, like you better believe we have been deep in the Israel and Palestine conversations in this community. There are, because they directly affect our congregations. We have Muslims who are Palestinian and who have family members who have been killed. We also have Jewish family members and Jewish like people in our community who have had their family members were hostages. So the last hostage that came home was actually the child of someone at Bethel Synagogue, and he's come home to Bethel. So we have people in our community directly impacted by this. So we've had to be very careful about how we have these conversations. We have a wide range of theology and how we show up in community for one another. So most of the time we are working on education around food security, interfaith relationship building, immigration, labor rights. You have it. Housing security is a really big one for us, as you'll get to learn from Mitchell. We also spend a lot of time on gun violence and ending poverty, and that seems really broad, but our congregations each tackle different issues and then they work together to support each other on that. We spend a lot of time with training. So we're doing a stand your ground training alongside the, what is it? I think it is called Stand Your Ground, but it's a like know your rights training kind of thing. We've also worked with Siembra. We've worked with the school system and Durham Can and other folks to try to help make sure our kids are safe in our community. We also work with like Durham Parks and Rec. So we do a lot of different things. We work with a lot of different people. We work alongside city council around issues in our community that could just be solved by, say, like food waste. We're working with the county right now alongside a couple of other folks to make sure that our food pantries and restaurants work together to end food waste in Durham. And if one food pantry has too much meat and another food pantry has too many potatoes, which actually happens more than you'd think, they're able to get those things to each other. Or if the Forest at Duke has too much food on Sunday brunch, they're able to donate that safely to somewhere that people can be fed. So we're trying to help with creative ways to do that. And that's where your money goes. It goes to help pay for our jobs, but it also helps with our projects and our programs, one of which was a national conference on justice and peace last weekend. We had over 200 people come, and the conference spanned the triangle. and people flew in. I think we even had someone flying from Canada, but I can't confirm that. So we're just sticking with national. But we had speakers from all over the country, for multiple religions come and present on justice and peace. We were actually in 0016 with 2 panels. We partnered with Duke and some mosques and synagogue and a few other folks, and the folklore community and Immaculate Conception. So there's a lot of partnership in this community, and we felt we really needed to have that conference because we needed some joy in these times. But we also needed to remind each other of our humanity and how we care and listen with one another, and that we are humans, and that we all, everything we did was centered around love and kindness, was centered around learning, was centered around protecting people and creation from harm, no matter what the religion was. And so we got to do that. It was really beautiful. And we had the Muslim Aretha Franklin, Sawada Lamin, saw that our conference was happening, and she came and did a pop-up concert at one of the dinners one night. So that was pretty cool. She was dressed all in gold, and everyone was tired, but after a bunch of speakers, but she popped up on there and she just started singing. And then all these older folks who'd grown up with her, were all standing up. Like if this whole room was filled, it would be like almost the whole room. And they were like, it was great. So we had some fun too, but that's the kind of thing we're working on. We're working on actual projects that help feed people, actual things in our community that make sure people are taken care of. And we're working on the underpinning of that and the long-term culture change, and making sure people know what it means to love your neighbor. Questions before I hand it over to Mitchell?
It's like, wow,
I'm trying to keep it short.
I don't think I've heard any more comprehensive. Microphones. Yeah, very impressive. And cannot wait to hear more. I think we're all of us are. Yeah, I saw applause. I'm going to make this go away right here.
Oh, and Chelsea Yarborough Brook is our speaker for a banquet this year. She just wrote a book on preaching and proclamation and the history of Black women preachers, including people like Sojourner Truth, through the history of humankind and how that's tied to liberation. And I'm friends with her wife, so y'all know Reverend Raquel. So I got special like priorities. So come to our banquet in January.
Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you.
Thanks everyone for having me. My name is Mitchell, as Bree just mentioned. And so an arm of DCIA is HomeShare Durham, which has just been rejuvenated. Our goal is to create opportunity and community with safe and affordable housing. As Bree stated, DCIA is really passionate about caring for those who are unhoused or might be facing housing insecurity, especially the elderly population. All right, so what is HomeShare? I get asked a lot. HomeShare is a best practicing model that matches people who have open space in their home with people who might be looking for a place to stay. It's important to note that all matches are vetted, background checked, and each match is case managed by me or another program manager. One important aspect that I kind of touched on a second ago is the importance of aging in place for the elderly community, because they are so often kind of forgot about or kind of warehoused in one space without the contact or interaction with other people. And it's a mutually beneficial arrangement, as in it's not just one person kind of leeching off another. It's a symbiotic relationship of, not just living together, but companionship, affordable housing, and support for one another. So just a little bit of background. This is our friend Maggie Kuhn, who is the originator of HomeShare. She started in 1972 as kind of a protest to the age discrimination and retirement age, which was then 65. So she created an organization called the Grey Panthers, who kind of fought these issues together. Yeah, it's a funny name. And as I said, it's very much about intergenerational living, without isolation or warehousing, kind of putting everyone together so that we not only have companionship, but support. And so in 1980, there was the initiative went national when she created the National Shared Housing Resource Center. So it was a place where all the home share programs or all the people who were searching for homes could kind of have a one central organization that they all shared best practices and information and support. So in Durham, home sharing started in 2017, but due to COVID-19 in 2020, we had to kind of dismantle for a little bit. And then there were some leadership changes and there was some fundraising that happened. So we came back in 2024, stronger, better than ever. And now we are, just pressing forward, creating more spaces for support and companionship. Our goal is to, as stated here, increase affordable housing in Durham while providing support for those who need companionship or a stable environment. And each match is kind of sealed with a housing covenant that serves as a legally binding document defining the duration and stipulation of each housing arrangement. As we kind of touched on, the benefits of a home share program are having someone in your home, in the home with the elderly person. We like to say that it's not only rent, but service in kind is exchanged. For example, might be help with technology or rides to the, yes. Oh, sorry, rides to the grocery store or, like cooking together a couple nights a week. Or help with everyday tasks. Bree, question?
Is it just elderly people that are qualified for home share?
Oh, no, it's not. It's we'll get to that in 1 second.
Okay.
Yes, I got you, but thank you for keeping me on my toes there. So yeah, it's service in kind. Man, there's any type of support that you can think of, we are prizing that. So a potential home share would be a graduate student or a college student, a newly divorced person, someone who's in the area for business who may not have their main residence here, but would like somewhere that's like pretty stable to stay. And as Bree just asked, really anyone who is in need of housing and who seeks comfort of a living arrangement that's not alone. So there are currently around 60 home share programs within the United States. And then outside of the United States, there are around 150 programs worldwide, maybe. And there are actually more, but they technically aren't considered like home share. So this is the 150. So if you look on the left side of your screen, there are a few statistics. This is taken from HomeShare Vermont. I was actually on the phone with HomeShare Vermont last week, and they were saying how they have about like over 102 matches. So this program definitely works and has a lot of really great like sorry, I just drew a blank. It's a very strong model and it's worked for a lot of people. So I think now it's just kind of helping people to get to know about the program because it's still kind of like, what is that? So if you look here, 84% of people feel less lonely, 78% feel happier. There are 71% say that household chores are completed. 69% of people feel safer, as well as enjoy their home more. 62% eat better, 51% worry less about money, and 51% call family less often for help. And on that last statistic, we had a potential match earlier this year. Her name, obviously I cannot share, but she was in the early stages of dementia, and her daughter and son live in Charlotte and Greensboro, so they weren't like right around where she could be, but she was constantly calling them and kind of asking for help and just a little bit confused about everything. So that kind of gave support to the idea that like it's not necessarily that they need help or like need a service, but if you are able to have someone in your home, that kind of incessant call to someone else outside of your home would lessen a lot. So this is Maggie Kuhn again. The requirements for someone to share their home, yeah, she's quite a spirited lady, is that they have no violent or criminal background, and no current drug or alcohol abuse. As we said, it's a vetted program, so we ask for around 4 people to kind of be your reference point, just to know that you're not like a homicidal maniac. And then the eligibility is 70% of the person's, no more than 30% of the person's income. And it's, you have to be willing to sign the living agreement, like I just spoke about a couple seconds ago, and go through the background check. So for someone who is sharing their home, obviously you have to have space, a room and a bathroom it is. And yours as well, no current substance abuse. And they are expected to charge $250 to $700 per month. I just realized there's 2 extra spaces to share here. And yeah, the rent is negotiable. Like we said, it's not just, payment or money, but also service in kind is kind of going again with the support piece that we spoke about. So the role of a home provider or home sharer is that they have a space, as I just spoke about. A great impetus is that it reduces housing costs, and it creates a space where someone can be with you all the time. A facet of this is kind of like as the property taxes and the like gentrification continues to occur in our communities, many people are kind of pushed out who have been in the community for upwards of 50, 60 years. And we don't want that to happen because like who wants to be forced out of their home after that amount of time? So if we're able to kind of team up and support each other in that way, then we can help people to kind of like maintain that sense of community, which then continues the community that is embedded without turning it over to like a whole new generation of people or a gentrified community. We spoke about this. Uh, Eligibility, as I spoke about earlier, must be below the median income. So yeah, this is also a badge made by the Grey Panthers to support the elderly. So the matching process is we have an application for seekers and an application for providers. As we spoke about previously, is the background check, and then we take everyone through kind of a ready to rent class that just kind of outlines the stipulations of the program and how long the agreement's going to be, what the services will be. And then there's a questionnaire, which includes questions about, lifestyle, like how many people you have over. Are you a partier? Are you a reader? Do you listen to music? Things like that. How often would you like to interact with the person that you're living with? And then we ask about, you have any pets, transportation, housekeeping, pretty much anything that you would need to know if you're living with someone. And then after that, we have a 2-week trial period where the sharer and the provider, sharer and the seeker test out, if they like to live together, if it works out. Sometimes it does not work out, we have a couple of case studies where we had to make a couple changes to the process, to the agreement, just because, people are people. But usually we're able to kind of figure that out and get people placed where they need to go. So yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up pretty well. If you or anyone that you know might think that this is a valuable program or something that you guys would want to support, definitely get in contact with me or Bree at DCIA. There's also a QR code here that you can scan that has the website and applications. And I hope that you guys are able to maybe interact with HomeShare Durham at some point in time. Yeah, and thank you so much for having me again. Is there any questions?
Yeah, we have quite a bit of time, and thank you. That was so thorough. What a beautiful program and incredibly developed, starting with that name.
Like,
Great Panthers.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that one.
Right.
So I think you're finished with your presentation. We'll just move to a Q&A and or open
Yeah.
discussion on anything related. We have plenty of time, so thank you.
Cool,
and
yeah,
thank
that
you.
was
Yeah.
kind of quick.
Help answer the question.
I stepped out for a second, so maybe I missed it, but how many matches do you have, and how many of your matches would you consider to have been successful?
Well, since coming back, we have not been able to, we have about 5 or 6 people who are looking for places to stay. We had a provider, as I spoke about earlier, but I think she was a bit advanced in her. We did have 2. One was a bit advanced in her dementia, so she kind of had to get greater help. And then a second, her son ended up needing to come back to her home, and she's actually going to Gaza, so that kind of disrupted things a little bit.
3 works for the county and for Duke, wanted to do home sharing in the Walltown community, but then had a friend who became unhoused, and so had set up that for his home for a home share or a home seeker to come in, and then ended up housing his friend, and just said, we did it directly and not through home share. So
Yeah. So, but as I said, we have, but in the 2017 iteration, there were like 5 or 6.
5 or 6 that lasted, and then I helped. So when I worked at Duke Chapel still, I was on the steering committee for this. Actually helped create this program. Way too much about it, but there's actually a lot of the documents that people have to fill out. I helped develop, but we're like I want to say like 11 or 12. At one point, we had up to 18 people being matched, and then home sharing is difficult because people in North Carolina, we were the first program in North Carolina. So people in North Carolina never really heard about home share. So the idea of opening your home to a complete stranger and having someone come live with you is, and everyone's like, ah. And then the pandemic happened. So now everyone's like, oh, and we've become more and more divided as a society. But one of my favorite stories to tell is we had someone who was chronically homeless for over 14, I want to say 14 or 17 years. And when I was doing my MSW internship, I was actually one of her caseworkers. And so I really intimately knew her life. And so she came to HomeShare, and one of the city workers who worked in the neighborhood services really loved the idea of home sharing. So she said, you know what? Match me with whoever you think I should have. So we did, and they had a rocky start because transitioning out of homelessness is really difficult, and you've never experienced being unhoused. You don't necessarily know why someone might keep a bunch of gallon jugs filled with water by every single exit of the building, or why there's like 10 million bags hanging off all the doorknobs, or why someone might, be squirreling away food, right? But when you're unhoused chronically off and on for over a decade, you actually fled a war to come to this country, you kind of have some things you do. So we actually provide conflict management as part of our casework with our program. And that's actually one of our best cases because we sat both of them down and worked with them through this and helped them be like, okay, can we have one jug of water by each door, but not the windows and not in every room? And how about we have one place we keep some bags, but not all bags? And have a go bag in your closet if you want, but not all over the house. And would that make you feel safe? And so that person said yes. And then the other person said, I can live with that. That's not everywhere in the house. And when the program shut down in 2020 because of the pandemic, we were really worried about our folks who were matched. And at that point, they had been living together for 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. So they said, you know what, we're going to go through the pandemic together. Even though it wasn't easy, they made it. And the person who had been chronically unhoused, after in 2020, she came back to the office one day to say hi. 2023-ish, she came back. So at this point, she'd been with the same person for around 4 years, maybe 5 years, and said, I moved out after shutdown stuff, but I moved into another housing situation, and she's had stable housing ever since, and has a stable job, and is the happiest I've ever seen her. And sometimes I see her around Duke just coming to community lectures and actually talking to people, and it was just beautiful. So that's one of my favorite stories because I actually helped that person become housed after being their case manager and then being on the steering. We also have people who are in their 60s who want to offer housing, who wanted to get matched with other people, other women in their 60s. And so that housing actually worked out really well too. We got someone matched with someone. So when we do make matches, we're really careful about the matches. It's a very slow process. Want there to be trust. There's a journalist in Durham who moved back to Durham after 20 years away. Didn't have a place to stay when they first moved here. Only needed to be in the program for around 8 months and then got stable housing and has been great ever since and is now doing home sharing unofficially. So, we have those stories. So there's not a lot of numbers, but we do have good quality.
What an impact on those individuals. That's
Yeah.
significant. I think there was a question
Oh, thank you.
over here. Anyone?
But your biggest challenge then is to get providers, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Once we have providers, because if a match doesn't work out, we find out why it didn't work out and then we rematch people. We've only had to rematch people twice, and the second time was better. And it's usually because somebody didn't realize something bothered them and they didn't put that in their housing covenant as one of their things that they can't live with. And that's the only reason.
I can imagine that finding people who are willing to share, who live near public transit lines or in a walkable community in town would be ideal. Durham is in your name. Are you limited to locations in Durham County?
For now,
Yeah.
yes, but there are potential programs in Winston-Salem and Charlotte.
In Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
But as far as we've been willing on a case-by-case basis occasionally. If there's a potentially good match and that person has a car or is okay, moving to a different county. If it's a bordering county like Orange or Wake, we really don't like to mess with Wake too much. Because we're gonna end up having to drive to Nightdale. But there's Orange County especially. We're okay with helping match people, but we don't want to take on the whole county automatically because there's just the two of us at DCIA and his job is all home share and mine is everything else. So there's not capacity, but if we can get this where we have enough home sharers and we have enough grants and things like that to keep it going, we'd like to hire more people so we can expand.
So my question is, so if somebody has housing now, but it's really expensive. at your forms, it says you have to be unhoused, so but if you have housing, but it's not working.
Well, I guess that would then be they would become a provider and have someone come in, or are you saying like on the other end?
The unhoused part is from the 27 model. We were only taking unhoused folks who are on the street. But like if there's like a student moving here or someone is about to be evicted from their home and they can't home share in their home, but they're seeking, we can't guarantee the timeline because it depends on how many like the home sharers in the match. But that is, we would be able to accept their application. It's often a matter of prioritization. So if we have 3 unhoused people and we have matches for those 3 people and that person also applies, we're probably gonna match the unhoused people first because that's more urgent.
I'm just curious, I guess, on a national scale, if you're looking at, you know, a graph of what this has looked like since the 70s when it was started, I feel like societies and communities and trust levels have changed so drastically, largely due to digital age. And I just didn't know, is it kind of a national crisis that people just aren't trusting each other anymore to move in with a stranger? So it's harder for you to do your job because of the nature of society.
Yeah, that's something that we've kind of found as we've restarted. But as I said earlier, in Vermont, I was speaking with them this week, and they've been able to have around 100 matches, but I think it's been going on for a very long time. So the program is a little bit established in that area, and I think people know a bit more about it. But yes, it has been a bit difficult, I think, given post-pandemic political climate, just general nature of human skepticism at this point. But I think as we continue to market the program, it's becoming more prevalent that people need it. And everywhere kind of that we talk about, it's like widely accepted. And we're like, oh, people really need that. But not me. So that's something we're facing. And I think just as we get the word out more and as people continue to find out about it and we have like models to show, I think the program will definitely grow more.
I would also say there's been a trend because of, I think maybe like the economy. What we're seeing is a lot of people, because home sharers can be anyone who has space in their home and it's clean and safe, and people don't have to have their own individual bathroom. They just need to have access to a bathroom as much as they need it, like anybody would living in a house. But you would be surprised at the fact that we have to actually say that and inspect the home to make sure that there is in fact a working bathroom that someone will have access to. People are, for example, we had someone in Wake County who wanted to be a home sharer and was really excited. She already rented out her basement apartment, so she wanted to do the home share program with her basement apartment and with her extra 2 bedrooms in her house. And we were like, jackpot. And she wasn't getting any extra money at this point. She really, really didn't want to sell her house. She really, really wanted to stay in place and be in community. Her son flew in from somewhere and said, absolutely not. We're going to either sell the house and take all the profit, or you're going to rent out the house and the basement and come live somewhere else. And so she actually had filled out the whole program and was super excited, and we're getting ready to match her. This was right before I hired you. And it's the only match I was willing to work on. Awesome. And because I have no time. And she called me crying, but her family had decided for her that it wasn't profitable, which home share doesn't exist for profit, that it wasn't profitable for her to do any part of this program with any part of her home, and that they were going to make money off of her home, even though that was against her wishes. So we're seeing that. I've seen that several times this year with people who want to home share, family members coming in and saying, no, you should sell that room, or no, you should sell your house, or no, we're not letting strangers come in the house with you. Even if we want to invite them in and talk to them about the program and have them be part of the process. So I think that's also part of it. It's not just the trust, it's also people they want to flip their families' homes, and they want to have renters, and because of the housing market, it's a great time to do that, right? If you have a home in Cary or downtown Durham right now, even with the housing bubble of like deflating slightly, you can still make a whole lot of money. So doing something like HomeShare really has to be an act of compassion.
So many complexities of it. You're so thorough in everything you've done in your preparation and use your model, but yeah.
Far as what success looks like, I know that the match is success, but I love the story about the woman that was unhoused and was able to, is that kind of the long-term success plan, is to help people to be able to go out on their own, or because I see both sides of it with the, potential of a senior who wants companionship and need, but I also see the other side of the person who was unhoused and can, eventually have their own life.
It's what I learned in Durham, and I talked to people in California and Florida when we were first getting this started. So, DCIA is trusted because we've been here 54 years. Those home sharing programs have also been around for roughly 54 years. So they're really trusted in their communities. And I'm like, what do you guys do that we don't? They're like, we only accept elderly people who want to die together. And I was like, we have more need than that. But yes, that's something we ask people in the interview is, do you want this to be long-term? And usually we say, let's work with you for a year or 2 years. And it's up to both parties. And if for some reason one party wants to leave, we will just come back and we'll match you with somebody else. We offer, the program is free. So it's not gonna hurt them to come back other than like transition changes. But we ask people what they want. Like, do you only want someone who's gonna be here for a while? So you can help them out? Do you want someone long-term? Like for elders and for people with disability, like I would love to have someone in my house that I really got along with and was a great help to me. Especially since I have 2 stories in my house right now, to help me with a lot of the chores that I can't do most of the time, and I have to ask for help or hire somebody because I have certain physical disabilities where I can't keep my house clean all the time, and it drives me crazy. But that would be helpful for me. And I also have a medical condition where I could die at any point and nobody is there, not that dramatic, but despite me passing out in the chapel several times. But I have hypoglycemia, but I have a condition where like I am in very much danger. And so if there's no one to check on me in my house, then I would die if I couldn't get to help or couldn't reach my phone, or like I couldn't move for some reason, which has happened before. So like I have housemates currently and that works, but like that's not long term. So if home sharing would work for someone like me for like 20 years, because it's not like it's a lifelong condition. If I'm mostly mobile, it would help me with some of those things.
And I think the only thing I'd add is like people who are in town on business or like a student, they'd be in for maybe a year or 2 and then kind of graduate onto something different. I think it's also a great program to kind of get your footing, and that way maybe save up so you can live on your own. So yeah, I think it's not one size fits all. It's very case by case, which is also kind of the beauty of the program.
Thanks for what you do, and what a great presentation. What it's causing me to think about is the trend, I think, in our culture for aging in place. And I think in ways in which the government is also saying we want to help people to stay in their homes as long as they can, just for many reasons. Are there ways that you're tying in with that to know how you might recognize how this might help in that situation with that greater goal of enabling people to age in place?
Yes, that's like one of our main goals, is to allow elderly people to age in place and not have to go to a living facility or to, go in with their family. I think someone was asking about, like, they want to keep their house as they get older and not have to sell or not have to go somewhere different. So, yeah, that's our main goal, is that aging in place piece with the elderly generation. That answers.
Also officially partners with Aging Well Durham for this, and for DCIA, we work with senior pharmacists, the senior center, Aging Well Durham, Meals on Wheels, and all four of those are interested in HomeShare. It's just with all of the administrative changes federally and some of our state decisions, everyone in Durham right now, nonprofit wise, is kind of scrambling to fix, like, especially like Meals on Wheels and people who deal with food insecurity with elders. Aging Well's doing great. Senior pharmacists, a lot of people are about to lose their health care. A lot of the healthcare plans that people are eligible for are not going to exist in January, regardless of the budget situation. So then you add the budget situation. So it's a slow process. We're also forming a partnership. We're in the process of forming a partnership with Dementia Inclusive Durham and Duke Well, because we've talked to them. We said we're not placing people to be caregivers for people who have dementia or something like that. But if someone just needs companionship or help make sure someone's taking their, okay. If they just need someone to call the family if something happens, and like, cool. And they said, that's great. And we can train people how to live with people who are aging in place, how to live with people with disabilities, and we can help get those matches. So we officially only have one partner, but we only relaunched in July, June. Yeah. So we're trying to get one.
So it's just an observation. So no, I'm not offering a home. Or offering something I know I can't do. But I know, I just learned in the last week, a house in Cary that's sitting unused. Somebody bought it for the mother. The mother doesn't want to move down here from Wilmington. The house has been sitting there empty in Cary. There's also a home in Wilmington that's a duplex, and the other duplex is used. So there is housing, how to connect to the need. The other thing is, observation is, I volunteer once a month when I can out of Wheels for Hope, where they donate cars. People donate cars, and then the cars are applied for those that need it. I do runs around the neighborhood. I see plenty of cars that have not moved in years. I know they're sitting there for some reason or another. It might be something simple. I mean, somebody gave me a truck because they couldn't get it started. It turned out to be the battery. I fixed it. I said, I'll pay you for it. I gave him $1,000 for it. And then in turn, I fixed it up and I sold it to a friend that's starting a business for what I paid for it. So, I mean, there's lots of things out there, unused property, whether it's a building or a car. And the key question in my mind, how to connect that with somebody. That's the hard part. It's like when you try to find the right car, you want to try to find something. How do you connect it? That's the part that's missing. I mean, to me, this is a good idea, but how do you connect? That's the part that I don't have the answer to. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that actually happened. Oh,
Let's just say call us.
yeah, that too. If we could kind of go in and be like, hey, this house isn't used, we're taking it. We would love to, but I don't think we can do that. One of our partners actually had a home that they were renting out. And for like an idea that we had was to kind of put a couple people who were looking for homes in the home, kind of like as a roommate situation. But that ended up not working out because they rented out the house to someone who could pay the full price, as people do. So yeah, it's definitely kind of a matter of being creative and kind of getting people to a matter of being creative and using the resources that we're given and kind of like using the resources that we're given and not really being able to like buy houses. Like, it would be really great if we could kind of take like the home and carry and be like, oh, we're gonna put our people in it, but like we don't have the house.
That person's willing to work with us, though, we can get people in the house.
Right. on the
Just as Ken said a minute ago, I want to thank you both for your commitment to what you're doing, and it's such an important contribution, and we're all deeply grateful and proud that our church can be a small part of this. I'm listening to this, I'm thinking about what a profound issue it is in our society, loneliness and the things that you're. Obviously, there's a great need out there that is really not being tapped into. So also you're very limited in what you can do because you're dependent on church donations to pay your salary. So I'm sitting here thinking, maybe there's some way you can make this into a for-profit kind of business in which you can actually generate some income that can enable you to grow over time and not be dependent on churches. Anybody thought about that, or I know it's not that easy to do, but at least it's something to think about.
We're actually, we always want to make sure we're accessible to the people who need it. But when we first started, we actually tried this for a little bit, charging people to be home sharers, in the sense of like, at least have people pay for their own background checks. And then if someone who's a home seeker could afford it, have them make some kind of donation, and then eventually make it a program where people could pay. Problem with that is people don't know what HomeShare is and they don't trust us yet. So for now, we want to make sure it's as accessible as possible to people. And as we build our reputation and build involvement, in participation, say, okay, this is obviously successful. How can we make money from it? Or one of our other programs, DCIA has a pilgrimage, that's not free. Which is why we have low participation in it. And also so far it's on like a Monday through a Wednesday evenings, which isn't good for a pilgrimage. People like to do that on the weekend, but our congregations that aren't Christians are. But all that to say, yes. And if people think of other ways for us to make a profit to support these programs, I am all ears. Absolutely. But for now, we really, like, if people want to make a donation to support HomeShare Durham and participate in it, and if they can't, like a lot of our elders don't have the money to do that, but they do have the homes, then we want to make sure that they can participate.
This is kind of in that vein. There is an organization called Nesterly, which is a worldwide service. It's kind of like Zillow, but it's prioritized more for like the home share basis. I'm actually meeting with them next week to kind of use we might be able to utilize their web infrastructure so people can kind of go online and search for the type of housing that they would need. And then from there, kind of get the ball rolling. So it's going to be a little bit more, I don't know if it's trustworthy or notable, but you can kind of see what you're getting into or like what type of house you're going in. So yeah, that's something that we're thinking about to kind of build the program out.
Anyone else?
I'm gonna make a comment. Several of us in the room here are involved in the Durham Urban Ministries program for feeding people downtown, and I've done this only a couple of times, but it just gave me the most wonderful feeling in the world to be a part of this and know that churches throughout the area are contributing to this and that they're providing meals 3 times a day, 365 days a year, and people really appreciate it. And those of us who participate in it, we enjoy it ourselves, and it's just a wonderful thing. So these kinds of programs are just really fabulous, and I'm very proud that Durham has been able to do what it's been able to do so far, but obviously there's a lot more to do as well. And I'm very proud that our congregation in Duke is a part of this.
Thank you, very inspiring. We're about to wrap up. Anything that we can do to support as a church, as individuals?
If you have people who are curious or want to volunteer, our volunteer work is mostly administrative unless we're having an event, but you are just curious and you want to come with us to work one day, or join our monthly meeting or anything like that. One, you all are DCIA members, so you have a little extra benefits. But two, like, we welcome all the involvement that you can possibly give us. And we will find a way to work it out. And if there's something your congregation is interested in doing, let us know, because that's what we do, right? Like, there was at one point, a movement to combine all the youth groups in Durham, which is a task. There are like 1,000 churches in Durham, but 5 or 6 churches did get together, and they still meet every quarter with their youth. And one of the, mostly it's Christian, but I think Judeo Reform also sends theirs. So we can be creative, and we also need to know what the needs are.
Well, and
Thank you, guys.
thank you for sharing. Thank you so much for your work and for exposing us to this in ways that perhaps as a congregation we can't get involved. Do you ever have a presence at farmers markets or the Durham Farmers Market or?
We have not yet, but we have,
Good idea.
yeah, we have several.
My kids love farmers markets. They can network. And just being aware of what you're doing. I mean, right? And just trying to find individuals. So I'll connect. Well, you already saw my little farmers markets participants that
Yeah.
would love to hang out just for a couple hours and hand out flyers. Or
Totally, totally. Thank you guys so much for having us.
All right, and next week, Tasha Melvin, Executive Director of Families Moving Forward, will lead our class. So again, thank you so much.
Maybe we heard